Thank you for joining for this session. My name's John Atherton. I'm the General Manager for explorance for Europe and Africa. Today I'm going to be giving you a brief introduction to explorance and our approach to measuring the effectiveness of learning. So in terms of the content I'm going to cover, I'm sure many of you haven't heard of explorance and what we do, so I'm just going to give you a brief overview and then dig into some of the challenges around measuring learning, what the drivers are for that, how you can scale it, and give you an overview of our solution metrics that matter. So explorance, what do we do? So we're a people's insights solutions provider. Ultimately, our goal is to help our clients capture and analyze and utilize feedback throughout the employee experience for the purpose of improvement. And as you can see, our goal is to support our customers through the whole employee journey from hire to retire. But specifically for L&D, we often focus around learning evaluations and competency assessments. So these are the solutions. It might be hopefully a bit tricky to see some of that. But what you've got in the middle here represents these blue squares are kind of organizational surveys and feedback touch points throughout the employee journey, starting with recruitment and ending in exit surveys. And in the middle you can see the learning evaluations and competency and skills assessments area, commonly where we start, particularly with L&D departments. In addition to supporting those processes and automating them and helping you analyze the quantitative and the qualitative data that you capture from those, we also support the opportunity to engage in kind of ad hoc or instant feedback, formative evaluation as well, outside of these kind of major feedback touch points. In addition to that, we support the methodology as well through our consulting team, whether it's support with instrument design or strategy development, change management, through to any bespoke reporting as well. So that's a brief overview of our solutions, but we're not just a technology provider. Our goal really in terms of partnering with our customers is to support with their strategy or the development of their strategy. Yes, provide technology and the automation and integration for that to ensure you're spending less time on the kind of operational processes around feedback and more time utilizing the data that you capture for improvement and turning those insights into action. And ultimately what we're trying to do is support you to build capability to be more self-sufficient using our solutions or optimizing your feedback processes. So we ultimately provide a suite of best-in-class technology solutions, which is Blue, a People's Insight platform, which is an all-in-one evaluation solution for all those different feedback touch points I've mentioned. Blue ML, which is a machine learning engine specifically designed to analyze and feedback specific to employee experience and employee learning. And then Metrics That Matter, which is the learning effectiveness solution, which I'm going to be talking about in a little bit more detail today. So what is Metrics That Matter, or MTM? It's been a pioneer in learning analytics since 2000. We work with a large range of customers around the world, and ultimately providing a scalable method for measuring the effectiveness of learning. And included in that is the largest set of benchmarks related to learning effectiveness. So essentially what it helps you do is better manage your portfolio in learning and optimize that and provide you with insights to communicate the value to the rest of the business. So I just want to sort of dig into some of the reasons and things that drive L&D to measure learning effectiveness. So when we speak with L&D leaders, there are a few common goals that we tend to find. One is around driving continuous improvement, so making sure they're getting the most out of their learning, managing perhaps their vendors, and improving the quality of what they're providing. In addition to that, being able to then communicate the value to the rest of the business and align it with with the business objectives outside of L&D, outside of HR. And these are good goals and good objectives to have, but the reality is that L&D doesn't always do a great job of that, being able to communicate the value of L&D to the C-suite, to other business leaders and line managers around the organization. So digging into what really keeps L&D from being effective at measuring learning and telling that story, there are really two core challenges that we see from our experience in the market and with our customers. Firstly, it's around metric selection. So when you're looking to measure the effectiveness of learning, what's important in that process is ensuring that you're asking the right questions to the right people at the right time, and doing that in a consistent manner so that you can draw apples to apples comparison across your whole portfolio. The next step from that is then being able to communicate that to the rest of the business. So what's holding L&D back is that incomplete methodology and inconsistency in the process, which then leads to the challenge of aggregating that data, bringing it together and turning that insight into action to be able to communicate that effectively. So what we tend to find when we speak with L&D leaders, that most organizations are capturing measures around participation and cost, which we would call efficiency measures. And this is very useful. This is often information that you might be able to gain from an LMS, for example. Things such as the cost per employee or the time spent in training and so on. But efficiency is only one part of the puzzle. And without focusing on the effectiveness and the alignment to the business outcomes, the L&D is essentially missing a trick. So what measurements are needed? So efficiency measures that I've just mentioned are certainly an important piece, as you can see in the diagram down here at the bottom. But effectiveness, as we've been talking about here, is the next step. So understanding the quality of the portfolio that you deliver, the impact it's having on the business, the value it brings to the business, and from that drawing a line of sight to the outcomes and being able to provide leading indicators and predictors that align with the business objectives, whether that is increasing productivity or maximizing top-line revenue or focusing on cost reduction. And what the executives want to be engaging with L&D departments on are things like application and results and value, rather time and cost and so on. Because the challenge with that is that it can set up L&D departments as a cost center and only looked at based on the output against cost. So what are the options when it comes to measuring impact? So one option is to organize an impact study. This is a very rigorous process, a detailed process, where a team of consultants will be able to analyze the success of the program and really pinpoint the effectiveness of it. The challenge with that is it's labor intensive, it's complex in a process, but also it's expensive. It can easily cost $100,000 or more to do that. And of course, if you had an unlimited budget and time, then it would make sense to do that. But of course, we don't, and it's not scalable. So what's the next best option is a proxy to capture information from people closest to the learning, which is the learner, the instructor, and the manager, and to do that in a scalable and a scalable methodology that is consistent across the organization. So that brings us to go into a little bit more detail about metrics that matter. So this is how Explorance supports our customers. We do actually provide impact studies as well, but they're usually sort of more one-off opportunities, really to scale the learning measurement. Our solution Metrics that Matter is the key for that. And what it allows you to do is make more informed investment decisions and focus on continuous improvement, align L&D with the business objectives, and help you communicate the value to senior leadership. So it does that through the built-in expertise in the platform and in the questions that the system asks, the outputs and the insights and the KPIs that are derived from the evaluations, the opportunity to benchmark your results against other types of organizations in your sector or geography, and of course bringing the technology together with our consulting team to really help you join the dots and focus on the areas for improvement. So just got a couple of slides left just to go in a little bit more detail about how it works and give you an example of some of the opportunity for optimization and savings. So what you can see on the screen here is a kind of an overview of how MTM works. So MTM is a software as a service platform. In the middle, your users just access it online. And really the first step is putting in the appropriate information about the different courses and learning assets that you provide and understanding when those complete, along with the learner demographics, so the system will be able to contact the right people at the right time to capture the feedback. In addition to that, you can align your different learning assets with the portfolio model in MTM to ensure that they are linked to your business objectives. The smart sheet evaluations will deliver a standardized or fairly standardized set of questions across the organization, not measuring the learning outcomes on your courses, but understanding was learning applied on the job, or what the learning from the course, whether it was applied on the job. And that way it can make comparisons across the organization. So the final step really is that you have a reporting engine that you can configure. You can create various different operational reports that go to your course or program leaders and through your various different levels of management. And the system will automatically trigger those reports out at the right time to the right people to help them identify where the bottlenecks are in the process and how to optimize it. And ultimately there's dashboards then for drilling down into that and taking advantage of the benchmark data to understand the context, how your organization compares against the rest of the MTM customers. So the final thing then I just wanted to run through, I've gone a lot quicker than I was planning to do, is an example of how MTM drives meaningful and documented return on investment. So on the left and right side here you can see two key metrics from Metrics That Matter. One is scrap learning, the other is performance improvement. So scrap learning, if you're not familiar, this term is essentially learning that was delivered but wasn't applied on the job. And typically for a company or an organization that isn't measuring their learning and trying to optimize that, the average scrap learning is around 45%. So what that means is almost 50% of your investment in learning isn't actually getting applied on the job after the learning takes place. And there can be a lot of reasons for that. It's not always the course or the content or the delivery. It could be the access to resources or the support from a manager and so on. And what we find is that within sort of 6 to 12 months, our customers are able to reduce that scrap learning by 7%, the average MTM client by 12%. And you can see here some of the top organizations using the platform have a scrap learning level of just 10%, meaning that 90% of the learning delivered is actually getting applied on the job. And from that, then, we can link that to performance improvement, or the full term of estimated performance improvement due to training. And what we find is that as you optimize your learning portfolio and reducing scrap, the performance on the job improves and you have a bigger impact on the organization. And one of the great things about these two metrics specifically is that they're easily monetized, so that you can report back to the rest of your organization in terms of, in pounds and dollars, exactly the value that you've brought to the organization. And these ultimately allow you to better manage your learning portfolio and then better communicate the value to the rest of the business, particularly outside of L&D and HR. So that's the end of my presentation. Hopefully you found that useful. We're going to be just over at the Explorance booth, just over here, if you'd like to come and have a chat with us. I did go a lot quicker than I was planned. Maybe I cut through a few words as I was compared to my practice. But thank you very much for sticking around. Please come and have a chat to us afterwards. We'll be more than welcome to answer any of your questions. Cheers.